Oops, where did it go? There we go. Um, I should, before I begin, um, give you the background on how we came about these essential first steps that need to be taken when we think about going global. Um, I've been in the internet and cross-border business activity since 1986, and my school has been actually the streets, meaning that I learned from practice. And what I'm going to show you here is the results of over 30 years of practice and what are the best way to actually achieve a good internationalization plan that consolidates a profitable new market to companies that are going global. So what I'm going to show you here is what we've learned by doing. And I call it the seven first steps because it just happened to be seven steps that need to be taken before you think about going on to executing an internationalization plan. And guess what? After that, there are another seven phases that need to take place. These seven first steps, I'll show you later, equate to the first phase of seven phases that takes place for someone who is successful in sticking a flag permanently in a different market. A little bit of my background. So I was American born. My mother was Brazilian and my father American. They met in Japan. That's where I was conceived. And I grew up between Silicon Valley, Brazil, and France. Been active in technology industry since 1986 and really focused in international cross-border since 91. In 2001, I became a startup accelerator in Silicon Valley. And the only reason I became a startup accelerator was because what I was doing with my clients that were going global, the go-to-market was exactly like a startup. Start from scratch, start from the beginning. So internationalization and innovation has been my main focus. I'm currently deputy chairman of WITSA since 2022, and I'm currently also presiding CESPRO. This is my last year, actually. I've been involved with CESPRO for the last 15 years, and as the president for the last 3. Moving forward, oops, here we go. What is happening here? It froze. Okay, here we go. So first, going straight in, first step, there needs to be executive commitment. I don't know if it happens the same in your different markets in Latin America, but in Brazil it does. Most entrepreneurs and businessmen, they go global by opportunity, not by planning, not by design. And when they go by opportunity, a few gaps happen, and that actually predicates that he may not be successful overall. So having an executive commitment means that going global is part of a strategy for that company. It's just not an opportunity. So the executive commitment reflects that strategy. I see it happen a lot here in Brazil. Companies, oh, I'm going to go to that event and check it out and see what happens. Yeah, and that's a good strategy as well, a bootstrap, if you call it. But if you're really looking to be successful and in the long run and consolidating a different market, you have to have the high level executive commitment. And that commitment needs to be tied to a strategy that going global is meaningful to the company. The second step, well, you can't go blind. If you go back to Sun Tzu, the guy who wrote The Art of War, right? If you don't know your market, you're probably going to lose the battle. But if you don't know yourself too, you're probably going to lose the war. So understanding your target market is fundamental, especially in these days where everything is going over the digital platform, and the digital platform allows you for a lot more intelligence in what you plan to do and what you plan to convey as a value proposition. So it's very important that people understand that they got to go and dig deep into that target market and understand all the predicaments that he's going to have to deal with. all the challenges you're going to have to face. The third step, and here we start about the second part of Zhong Tzu. First thing, know your competition, know where you're going to go. Second thing is know how prepared you are. What type of gaps do I have? Product fit, people normally have they convey product fit as being something that is just the experience itself is required in that particular market. And product fit is not only that. Product fit is how your value proposition will resonate with that market and will give you the capability of scaling. So understanding how that product needs to be fit because of the gaps it has. And one thing that I have learned, and I think all of us here are part of this, because all of us here in Latin America, I call us the stray dogs that can make it happen. Because we have high cultural acumen, which normally Europeans and Americans don't have. And there is a big, and I'm sure all of us here understand that common languages don't automatically equate common cultures. And the cultural element is very key in understanding how you're going to fit your product and how you're going to fit your value proposition, how you're going to fit your messaging to the market. Well, keep on understanding who you are. So what is my level of maturity right now? And what is my competitiveness analysis compared to the market I'm going into? One thing, and I assume, I don't know for sure, but I understand that probably it's very similar to Brazil. All the other Latin American markets have a high relationship component before they go into business. They want to understand they're dealing with those people before they understand the business. Well, if we go to the US, totally different. They don't care much about that cultural alignment first. What they want to understand is problem-solving alignment. So that's where the competitiveness gap analysis focuses on. And it's very important that we, when we go global, understand what are these gaps, because those are the gaps I will have to work with to be successful going somewhere, going a different geography. The fifth step is then it's the people who are going to be leading the program, leading the internationalization plan. There is a high, at the end of the day, execution is what makes it happen, right? And I've learned that firsthand, not only with internationalization, but especially with startups. In Silicon Valley, they say ideas are cheap, execution is priceless. So understanding our own executive preparation, executive readiness, and our gaps is very important, because you're going to have to find those skills so you can compete on the same level with the companies that are currently already in that market. So understanding by function, understanding your critical gaps, and here a lot of it resides on the cultural side. So sixth step inevitable, I see, well, how did I become an accelerator? This is an interesting story, because my clients going global internationalization plan, they were very tuned in. Oh, yes, product fit, Robert, I understand. Yes, I have to do market fit, my messaging, my market positioning. I understand that too. But there needs to be a mindset readiness, and you have to equate that mindset and that commitment to a budget. I became an accelerator because, culturally speaking, I could not change the Brazilian mindset. They're going to go on opportunity. It doesn't matter. And so my deal was, well, if I don't want to lose this client, I have to have him make revenue, market traction, as fast as possible. So I specialized on creating market traction out of the gate, because I knew if I did that, I would not lose a client. Because in the beginning, he did not have any budget appropriation. But once he saw that there was a possibility of making money, wait a minute, let me step back here and let me assign some resources to make this happen. So I became an accelerator just because market traction is exactly what you do when you're doing your startup. They have to go to the market. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out that you're going to need the local people where you are going to. There are market acquisition costs inevitable. You have to establish yourself. If you go to the U.S., for instance, they will first thing want to know: are you established in the U.S.? Do you have a team in the U.S.? Because they want to know you're next door. So a budget appropriation is fundamental. But if we go from the cultural aspect, most companies that we deal with in Latin America, oh yeah, I'll check out that event in London, see what happens, and if when I come back, if something happens, I'll see what I'll do. Well, okay, let's do that, but then let's focus over there when you go there spontaneously on really understanding how you can do market traction. And the seventh and last step is you've got to be agile. We don't develop companies any longer the way we did in the past. It's not about product development, it's about client development. And the startup mindset, which brings all the agile methodologies, is fundamental. And regardless if you like it or not, your competition is using it. And if you don't use it as well, you're going to lag, you're going to stay behind. Right? We see that you're going to be biting dust because people in front of you will be raising all the dust up in the air and you're going to be breathing that. And when you look how startups go on, they're very lean. And the first thing you want to do is understand the problem and the pain that the customer has and how you can solve that. Once he can solve that, how can I put that into the market? And I have to measure. One thing that I have done, I have learned through all the projects that we have been involved with, and I ran a government program for Brazil for 15 years called Brazil IT Plus. So I have many incursions around the world, and I was able to actually see all this. And what I'm sharing with you right now is the actual result of all of this learning and going out to the market for this program called Brazil IT. So these 7 steps are inevitable out of the gate. First thing they need to do, actually do these 7 steps. Now, so I need out of the gate executive commitment, right? And that will eventually help me have a budget appropriation. I got to understand my target market. And when I understand the target market, it's not just taking statistics out of Google or out of AI. It's really doing that and talking to people, going to an event, understanding the dynamics. I like going to trade events a lot. I've been just to RSA conference and NVIDIA. And why do I think these events are very good? Because you're going to be living and being a witness of how the dynamics of that particular market takes place under the same roof at the same time. So if you were actually trying to reach out to all the people you meet inside of a professional event, it would take 6 months minimally. But then, know the market and know thyself. Know about your product fit gaps, know about your execution gaps, either on the maturity and the competitiveness side, and also your team and your executives who are going to be actually leading the program. And the budget appropriation is fundamental if you're really serious about it, right? I have taken a 2-step in that case currently with local companies here in Brazil because culturally they won't establish a budget out of the gate the first time. They'll go out and test the market first, and that's fine. But once they come back and if they are committed, they got to understand if they want to play ball and be competitive and compete against those companies that are on those markets, which are more competitive and they probably have investment to fast track market, you need to have a budget and build your like a lean canvas. So it's a lean startup. You're bootstrap. You have to be agile and resource efficient. So the key takeaways actually at the end, you have to start at the top. If you don't have commitment, CEO and C-level buy-in, eventually, things will fizzle. One thing that I have learned as well is that it's very important that once you have the executive commitment, that the executive board or the leader, he has to make sure the rest of the team, even those who are not going to be involved in internationalization, understand why it's important for the company and how that actually is important for them in their own position, if they're a part of it or not, right? Because if you want a total buy-in, otherwise you have an outsourcing project and your back team here is doing it, and all of a sudden they're not fully committed because they don't understand exactly why we're doing this. One thing that I've learned, and actually today, my startups that I invest in, I will not sign up with them if they don't, by contract, commit to using OKRs. I don't know if all of you know OKRs, objectives and key results. It's the main operational methodology that we use in Silicon Valley. And really, if you don't measure, you don't manage. And it's like going on a blindfold into the market. But again, these 7 steps that I've showed you are just phase 1 of a full journey. When I'm going to show you what happens through when you go. I've taken the 7 steps. What do I do next? So the 7 steps, they equate right. Whoops, wait a minute. Here we go. They equate right here. This is the first. There's 7 steps within the awareness and the learning, which I just showed to you. Now, after that, I have to have preparation. I got to get ready. I need to actually go out to the front line first and do a recon, understand better that market, right? And then I can come back and start working my benchmarking on product proposition, on executive program. And if I can be part, I know Brazil IT, I know Mexico IT, I know the Pro Colombia. Every country has their country program to help exports in the IT sector. Well, that's what I call acceleration. And activation is really being able to land clients in the particular market. And if you actually provide value and you deliver, then you consolidate. And I call that global me. I became global. So I was able to successfully establish my flag in a different market. So these 7 steps are the basic foundation for any internationalization go-to-market plan. If I don't do this, I'm not saying you can't be successful, but your chances are probably slimmer. One thing I do know, if you do these 7 steps, you are setting a foundation that will help you establish all throughout the other phases you have to go through. I developed something that I will show you pretty soon. So these 7 steps, again, executive commitment, understand the target market, market and product fit. So product fit is how you are going to have that particular market have the true experience with their cultural components, which are very local. Market is my messaging. How do I actually showcase my value proposition? Or how do I position myself in that particular market? Understanding how ready you are on 4 and 5, maturity and competitiveness, and your executive readiness. And no money commitment is a no-go. You need budget allocation and need to be agile. So these are the 7 steps that I have learned throughout all of my tenure that help us give a proper go-to-market internationalization plan for our clients. And what I have developed, and you feel free to actually test drive, I have 3 questionnaires this is how I vet my clients and my startups. By the way, in my startup accelerator, I stayed focused only on international play. So here in Brazil, I only work with startups that have international global vocation. Otherwise, I'm not good for them. So these are 10 questions, each one of them, and it just helps me vet and give and actually provide some feedback and a very fast track mode to these clients. But doesn't stop there. It's not open right now, but I have a business qualifier, which is a 1-hour interview, an hour and a half, with over 100 questions that helps us build the go-to-market plan. But I only allow people to come to the business qualifier once they have answered first these 3 questionnaires, because then it will help me gauge what will be that second journey on the business qualifier. So this is a really down and dirty presentation. I have something a lot more in depth, but I understand that today I am just showcasing an overall presentation to all of you, and perhaps that will have a fit to some of the constituents that you need to address in your local markets right now. This is my overall world hero, Winston Churchill. Two things that resonate a lot to me, which we make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give. And the attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Um, I thank you. These are my contact information. Recommended read. I think all of these literatures are very key for anyone who's trying to go global. So the last two specifically are very focused on really on the operational part, which is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel and John Doerr with Measure What Matters. So with that, I open for questions.
Thank you very much, Robert. I have no question.
Yes, Lionel, please.
Robert, thanks for this insightful presentation that certainly reflects your 30 plus years of experience. Two questions I have. One is, are you aware that Aleti has developed Rubicon, which is a platform to create opportunities cross-border within the context of Latin America and Spain and Portugal? I'm not sure if you had the chance to look into it. And that connects directly to your presentation, because I guess there's one element that I guess would enrich the methodology you are showing, which is the acceleration through technology in terms of a direct contact using platforms like Aleti that creates naturally a network of potential partners on the demand side as well as on the offering side. Certainly, you cannot proceed if you don't have a plan, you don't know the market, and so forth. But there might be other possibilities to accelerate that knowledge through partnership building, through getting, very quickly the real answer of something that there are too many questions when you go international. I also work international. But there are some that could be answered quickly, more quickly than you thought, if you start to use platforms like the one that we developed here in Aleti, and I was the author of that platform that contains a lot of artificial intelligence to extract what you're looking for, to analyze it, to compare it to markets. So my question at the end is how you see the acceleration of some of the pieces using profound new method. And I'm talking about just going to ChatGPT, putting something. What I'm talking about is really an engine of creating opportunities that is very distinctive in the AI discussion. So this is basically the two questions.
Yeah. So first, I have heard of Rubicon. I have not interacted with it yet, and I would love to. Right? Yes. I'm always a game player in any situation. Right? Part of my culture. It's my American side. Anyways, and then going to your second question, having a platform is important. However, what I have found is that a platform only really actually it consolidates among the people who are actually interacting with it if it produces results. Right? Sure. I have, and the results are not on the platform. The platform is a matchmaking. The way I see it, the way I've learned, I have seen about I think 3 or 4 platforms in the past being built. And what happens after, say, it's a good qualification platform process. But what happens after is what really makes it or break it. It's execution. And there's limited. I can go in chat GPT, and he can give me a game plan, but
Sure.
still, I have to go out there and execute it, right? And then this is my part where I have developed. How do you go to a market? How do you go step onto the pitch and play ball, right? Do you play ball there on a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1? How do I actually? You mentioned something that to me is the first out of the gate: partners. Channel development to me is number one always. You may lose a little bit of margin in the beginning, but you gain access more rapidly to the market.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to have a good channel program, because if you don't have a good channel program, no one buys into it. So how do I build a good channel program? Right?
No, I fully agree, Robert. The point is not the platform resolves your actual essence of what you're trying to do, but creates an accelerating point for contacting, for placement of the idea very quickly, that in the past would take months and as you say, a lot of visits to fairs and stuff like, which are very helpful. But there, I think, might be another channel that we need just to take into account to accelerate that first contact. That, I think, is the only objective of that, not to resolve the whole problem. This is just the first accelerated contact.
Yeah, the most recent platform I got interacted with was right after COVID, and WITSA. They came out with GBX, Global Business Exchange, because everything was online, everything remote. So they built this platform, but they never really went out to the market to learn what are the things that the market wants to see on that platform. They did it from their own. And then they found a challenge. How do I actually moderate this? Because anything on a platform or a social network, whatever you do, it needs moderation. It will need someone there in and out making things happen. So I am with you, Lionel. Yeah, the platform is great for the first step and actually be able to qualify. It's like going on to, a platform is Uberization of matchmaking, if you will, right? I'll go to Airbnb and find out, which apartment fits best. I'll go to Airbnb, I'll go to a platform and see what type of opportunities are out there and who actually is a partner that fits best.
Well, let me just finish saying, look at Rubicon. It doesn't
yes.
follow that general platform idea. It's a different thing. So whenever you chance, just let us know when we have a meeting with you. Okay.
Well, yeah. I don't know how you do your you do your boarding on your platform, but I'll be glad to experiment.
Just let us know
and try it out.
We get back to you.
I'll give it back to you. Give me the options.
All right. Ricardo knows very well how to contact us, but I write down my mail here. Okay.
Okay.
Good. No problem. I think this is a good idea to do this. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Lionel mentioned, I need it much easier, because if I go to an event, I have to go through my own procedure to qualify everyone and see who actually has a merit or not. On a platform, I have a vetting process. I have people who have reviewed. So yes, it accelerates a lot. Yes, it's something that it actually helps structure potential opportunities. And you're definitely going to need to have a moderation capability 24/7 that people actually engage. Also, the other platform I saw was outsourcing projects. So in the beginning of the Brazil IT program, I ran the IT services vertical. So we were looking at platforms where we could actually put our companies there and look for projects and sign up for those projects. And ends up that, and this is the other point of the moderation, is that the curation. There needs to have a curated process to have the companies that are on board, because otherwise you get a lot of stuff that has nonsense or doesn't relate to. So another key aspect of the platform is the curation of the projects that are actually signed up. I don't know. I have to check out Rubicon. I don't know if it's sign up by project or sign up by company. The outsourcing.
Robert, this is a different concept. I would suggest let's sit together. It's completely different than what you
Okay.
mentioned. The drive is the network, the natural created network through the associations of technology companies in whole Latin America. That's the concept, which is a different one. They're just a public thing trying to create profiles. But okay, don't.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a different thing.
Take me to school.
In the chat, you see my contact, and also Ricardo and Andrea would be very happy to set up the meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, Len. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Here it is. No. Oh, Lopez M. Sigüe. I got it.
All right.
Okay.
Queria, talvez, vou falar em português e em espanhol, tá, Robert? Queria profundizar um pouco de como construir partnerships, parcerias dentro do mercado internacional.
Okay. Well, when you're looking for partners, of course, there has to be some form of alignment, either a complementary portfolio or complementary different markets. But there has to be value on both sides. And when you look with channel, you have to have a channel program that resonates. And channel partners normally, they want first a product that can sell itself. It doesn't require a lot of effort for him to sell it. Also, a product that it kind of is automatically auto-sustainable. It doesn't require a lot of technical support. Or you do have already, you as the vendor will provide all the technical support. And last but not least, has to have a good margin. Right? So you have to have a plan where you can show that you're going to support completely the product profile and the technical side of it, and you're providing him with a margin that he would not have. So choosing partners, there has to be first an alignment on the market, alignment on the product, and then also alignment on purpose and how you actually go to market and play. You needed someone that actually is going to represent you in that market. He'll be taking your brand further, so your brand will be associated with that other partner in that market. So do we have a purpose alignment also? Right? I'm not going to look bad because this guy's taking my flag, with him. So that, what I have learned, you gotta beat your feet and circulate. You got to go to events. You got to talk to people. It's not just online, and not to say you can't do it online. Yes, you can. But if you really want to understand how people are going to do business with you and on the medium, long-term run, eventually you got to have a face-to-face meeting. This is our culture. Our culture, Latin culture, is eye to eye. But before you do that, make sure you have a good program, a good sound channel program where I'll be able to have my partner make money. He's not going to have much effort to sell. He's not going to have much effort to support.
Robert, I have a sorry.
Okay, Christian, you can.
Thank you, Ricardo. So, Robert, I have a question here. Do you are familiar with the concept of subsidiary as a service?
Yeah.
In that model, you are not partnering with the other company. The customer is your customer, but the other company, the subsidiary, is just the invoicing, collecting, and represent you in the other country. I want to know what your opinion about that model.
Yeah. Well, if I understood correctly, Christian, the way you narrated, I wouldn't call that subsidiary. Now, I understand the concept of subsidiary as a service, but to be a subsidiary, you're actually going to act exactly like your mother company headquarters is, with all the cultural adjustments, but your purpose will be the same. But if you're just doing a channel program, I wouldn't see it as a subsidiary as a service. And by the way, a long time ago, I was involved. I had a company here in Brazil, which I sold eventually, called Introsoft. And that was the exact same concept, Christian. I called it subsidiary as a service. But at the end, you're dealing with several brands. Your guy who is your subsidiary as a service down in that market, he is doing something else for someone else too. So he is not going to be perceived as a complete subsidiary. He will be perceived as a channel, right? Even though you're calling subsidiary as a service. And just to have a payment gateway or collect or invoice and collect revenues, I would call that a channel partner for some, in a way. Subsidiary to me as a service, you're going to be fully that company, and you're going to be totally devoted to it, and you will not. There is a. Do you know what a BOT is?
Yes,
Christian?
yes, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Bill, operate, and transfer. To me, a subsidiary as a service would have a fit if I'm looking to have a BOT strategy, right? Because otherwise, you could be working for someone else as a subsidiary, right? And a subsidiary as a service, maybe I'm seeing it much from the vendor side, because as a vendor, I want someone fully dedicated, right? It's just like when I start up, the guy says, oh yeah, I'm working 80% of the time on the startup, but 20% I'm doing moonlighting so I can make some cash. Uh-oh, he's not 100% dedicated. And I'm dedicating 100% of my money, so no. So that's how I perceive it, Christian. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It sounds very nice, the subsidiary as a service, but when I look at subsidiary, I look at someone who is fully dedicated to that mother company.
Thank you, Robert.
And just to add to that, Christian, I would, if I were to do a subsidiary service, I would do a BOT, because then I get the upside when I give it back to him. And I establish the BOT contract, I will be already establishing how much he's going to pay me to buy it back. So to me, I would definitely put a BOT component in my contract as a subsidiary as a service, because otherwise, eventually the company mother, oh no, listen, you've done a good job, but now it's my turn. I'm coming in. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So if we have a little bit of time, I was going to suppose no more questions. And does everyone here already been to Rubicon? How about Lionel? Showcase Rubicon right now to us. There's no more questions, so let's go straight to it.
Well, I don't want to interfere with your very insightful presentation. I would rather special time for that for you.
Lionel, this is a collaboration. There's always team effort. There's not a single guy that can make everything happen. Anyways, I'm just trying to, we blocked, I think, an hour at least, right, Ricardo? And if we did an hour, we got another 15 minutes, no more questions. Why don't you showcase it? Otherwise, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Robert. I will speak now in Portuguese or Spanish. Muchas gracias, muito obrigado, Robert. Lembrando para todos que esta presentación fue grabada. Después va a ser enviado link por parte de Stefania o Andrea, ¿ok? Y bueno, vamos para la próxima presentación, próxima reunión. Y muchas gracias a todos por haber participado. Muy obrigado, Robert. Thank you very much. Si tienen alguna pregunta más, si no, vamos a cerrar la presentación aquí, la reunión de hoy, ¿ok?
Obrigado, Ricardo.
Muito obrigado. Muchas gracias. Chao, saludos.
Robert, see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye, Robert. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Hasta luego, que esté bien.
Chao, gracias, Andrea.
Luego, gracias.